I'm pretty sure I stopped breathing when my phone rang. The contact name that flashed on the screen was one I had set myself. A silly, secret little indulgence. Ethan Redheart. I never expected him to actually call it. I answered, and the hesitant voice on the other end of the line asked if I was, in fact, his boyfriend. A long moment of silence stretched out. My mind was racing, 1,000 scenarios playing out at once. Then, a lazy, confident voice that wasn't entirely my own answered for me. Of course, I didn't find out he had truly lost his memory until he asked me to come pick him up from St. Michael's General Hospital. He explained haltingly that he'd been in a minor accident, a knock to the head that had scrambled some of his memories. The doctors found nothing physically wrong, but insisted a family member had to sign him out. He sounded so small and lost when he wondered aloud if a boyfriend counted as family. I reassured him, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands, telling him not to worry, that I was on my way. The truth was, my brain was a chaotic mess. The Ethan I knew was quiet, kept to himself, and was, as far as I knew, straight. He was also the subject of a secret, intense crush I'd been nursing for the better part of a year. He had no idea. And now, by some bizarre twist of fate, he thought we were together. I walked into his hospital room, a tall figure in a black jacket, trying to project an aura of calm I was nowhere near feeling. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, looking up at me with wide, confused eyes. It was him, the star of our university's art department, looking more vulnerable than I had ever seen. He was even more handsome up close. I felt a pang of something sharp and unfamiliar in my chest. He blinked, recognizing me not as his boyfriend, but as Caleb Jensen, the guy from the business school everyone seemed to know. He asked me again, his voice barely a whisper, if I was really his boyfriend. He remembered my name and that I was known for being straight. I leaned in, forcing a casual confidence, and explained that while I used to be straight, I'd fallen for him at first sight. The lie came surprisingly easily. I told him I'd pursued him for a long time before he finally agreed to go out with me. To sell it, I pulled out my phone and showed him my lock screen, a candid photo of him I'd secretly taken in the library weeks ago. I claimed he'd insisted I change it, throwing a fit until I did. He just blinked, a blush creeping up his neck, and apologized for not remembering. I softened my voice, reaching out to brush a stray piece of hair from his forehead, telling him it was okay. As long as he was with me, that's all that mattered. The directness of my own words made my own ears burn, but he responded, leaning into my touch like a kitten seeking warmth. In that moment, something shifted. He was my ideal type, and the thought that he was now, even under false pretenses, mine, sent a thrill of possessiveness through me. While I was speaking with the doctor, I saw him through the window, secretly taking a picture of my back with his phone. A slow smile spread across my face. When I came back in, he was still looking at his phone, a dazed, happy expression on his face. He told me, his voice filled with wonder, that his photo album was full of pictures of me. My heart hammered against my ribs. So it wasn't just a mislabeled contact. He liked me back. I had to physically restrain myself from grinning like an idiot. I played it cool, leaning against the doorframe, my voice dropping to a low, intimate murmur. I told him that knowing he'd been watching me all this time, liking me from afar, made me ridiculously happy. The emotion in my voice wasn't fake. It was the truest thing I'd said all day. Taking him back to his dorm was another challenge. His roommate, a loud guy named Jax, saw us at the door and his jaw dropped when he saw me standing behind Ethan. The other guys in the room fell silent, staring. It was clear they had no idea Ethan was gay, let alone dating me. Ethan looked panicked, realizing he'd just been outed by his own amnesia. I stepped in, wrapping an arm around his shoulders and pulling him close. I calmly introduced myself as Ethan's boyfriend. I explained that he had been afraid of their reactions, which was why he'd kept it a secret. I added that if any of them had a problem, they could talk to me about it, but they were not to bother Ethan. My family's name carried some weight on campus, and my tone, though polite, left no room for argument. They immediately stammered their assurances, inviting me in. I was the one in control, and Ethan seemed to relax, leaning on me. When it was time for me to leave, I walked him downstairs. It was late, and the courtyard was mostly empty. He thanked me and called me Caleb. I arched an eyebrow, a playful smirk on my lips, and informed him that wasn't what he used to call me. He looked mortified, apologizing again for his memory loss and asking for a hint. The devil on my shoulder took over. I leaned in close and whispered that he used to call me honey. His entire face turned scarlet. He stammered for a moment, unable to get the word out. I let him off the hook, suggesting he could try something else. He thought for a second, then tentatively tried, "Babe?" The way he said it, so soft and shy, hit me harder than I expected. I had to turn away for a second to compose myself before ruffling his hair and telling him to get some rest. As I walked away, I pulled a crumpled, sweat-dampened napkin from my pocket and tossed it in a trash can. I was far from the cool, collected guy I was pretending to be. That night, I barely slept, replaying every moment. I thought about the times I had seen him before all this. At the library, when I'd forgotten my student ID and he, standing behind me in line, had shyly offered his. The way I'd glanced at the name Ethan Miller and given him a dismissive nod of thanks. Or the time on the basketball court when some guy tried to ask me out and I'd coldly told him to get lost. Only to look up and see Ethan watching from the sidelines, a strange, unreadable expression on his face before he turned and walked away. I'd been so deep in the closet, so terrified of anyone finding out, that I'd built walls of indifference around myself. Walls that he, in his current state, had just walked right through. The next morning, I was waiting for him outside his dorm with coffee and a bagel. He looked so happy to see me, his earlier uncertainty replaced by a trusting smile. When he called me babe again, a genuine warmth spread through my chest. As we walked to his class, I saw the stares and heard the whispers. I didn't care. In fact, a part of me liked it. I wanted everyone to know he was with me. Just before he went into his lecture hall, he surprised me by leaning up and pressing a quick, soft kiss to my cheek. He was getting bolder, and I was all for it. Our relationship continued like that, a sweet, comfortable routine. But as the weeks went by, a strange sort of guilt began to gnaw at me. We held hands. I'd put my arm around him, but I never initiated anything more. I couldn't bring myself to kiss him properly. Felt wrong, like taking advantage of the situation. He was giving me his trust so freely, and I was basing our entire relationship on a lie. He deserved better. He deserved a real confession, not this charade. The conflict was tearing me apart. The breaking point came at my roommate's 21st birthday party at an off-campus bar. Ethan, who apparently had zero alcohol tolerance, had one sip of a mixed drink and was immediately tipsy. He was leaning against me, his head on my shoulder, looking up at me with hazy, adoring eyes. I ended up carrying him out, his warm breath on my neck. Back in his quiet dorm room, I was setting him down on his bed when he grabbed the front of my shirt. He told me there was something he wanted to do. When I asked what, he looked directly at my lips. His request was a simple, slurred whisper, asking if he could kiss me. My entire body went rigid. It was everything I wanted. But as I leaned in, I saw the pure, unadulterated trust in his eyes, and I couldn't do it. I stopped, my forehead resting against his. I told him no. I couldn't, I explained in a strained voice because I was already being greedy enough. He didn't understand, just mumbled something and passed out. The next afternoon, I got a frantic call from Jax. Ethan had fallen in his room, hit his head again, and they were on their way back to the hospital. He'd woken up confused, asking where he was and who I was. My blood ran cold. It was over. He remembered. When I burst into the hospital room, he was sitting up, a bandage on his forehead. He looked at me, and I saw it in his eyes, the recognition, the memory, the shame. The lie was gone. I stood there, frozen, as his roommate made a hasty exit. The silence was deafening. Finally, I forced myself to speak, my voice rough. I asked him if he remembered. He gave a small, miserable nod. I apologized, the word feeling utterly inadequate. Just as I thought he was about to tell me to get lost forever, I saw a flicker of something else in his eyes. So I took a chance. I asked him, my voice shaking slightly, if we could still try. For real this time. He didn't answer right away, just looked down at his hands, saying he didn't know. That was my cue. I wouldn't push, but I wouldn't give up. For the next few weeks, I courted him properly. I brought him breakfast, walked him to class, helped him study. I showed him with actions, not lies, that my feelings were genuine. I convinced him to come on a camping trip with me and my friends. The first night, during a game of truth or dare, my friends, who were all in on my mission, dared us to spend 10 minutes alone in the woods. In the quiet darkness, with only the moonlight filtering through the trees, I stopped and turned to him. Before I could say anything, the ground began to shake violently. An earthquake. Trees swayed, and the sound of snapping branches filled the air. My only thought was him. I shoved him hard, sending him stumbling onto an open patch of ground, just as a massive branch crashed down where he had been standing. I was the one it hit. I woke up in the back of my friend's SUV, my head pounding, with Ethan's frantic, tear-streaked face hovering over me. Seeing his terror, an awful, impulsive idea popped into my head. I blinked, looked him straight in the eye, and asked with cold indifference who he was. The devastation that washed over his face was instant and absolute. His eyes welled up, and a sob caught in his throat. Couldn't stand it. I broke character immediately, pulling him into a hug and burying my face in his hair, telling him I was so sorry, that I was just an idiot messing with him. He hit my arm, but he was clinging to me, his tears soaking my shirt. My friends in the front seat were yelling at me, but I ignored them. I pulled back to look at him, my expression completely serious. I promised him that even if I really did lose my memory, I would remember him. I told him he was the most important person in my life. He searched my eyes, then let out a shaky breath. Okay, he said softly, then let's date. For real, while we both know exactly what we're doing. A brilliant, dazzling smile broke across my face. I leaned in and kissed him, a real kiss this time, full of relief and promise and a truth that was finally ours. I told him, hello, for the record, I am your boyfriend.